there, and welcome back to another video of the TI4 browser app. In today's video, we're going to be going over some newly implemented cards, 9 of which are agendas, and 1 of which is an action card. So rather than go over these cards in the game, I figured instead 9 agendas is kind of hard to do, so I'll just briefly go over them in these image files here. So we first have Holy Planet of Ix, and this is a law where we're going to be electing a cultural planet, and the planet that gets elected, the owner of that planet gains a victory point, but then also units on the planet cannot use production. So that's space docks, and in the future the Arborec won't be able to use their infantry to do production. The exception, I suppose, is the clan of Sar, and, well, because their space dock technically isn't on the planet, if their space dock is in the system with this elected cultural planet, they can still use production. Also, when the planet card swaps hands, then the victory point will swap hands as well. The next card is Public Execution. This is a directive where a player is elected, and whoever's elected will discard all their action cards, as well as give the speaker token to the player on the left if they are the speaker. If it so happens to be the case that this is the first agenda in the agenda phase, the elected player will also not be able to vote on the second agenda. Next, we have Judicial Abolishment, and if there's no laws in play, this agenda will be discarded for the next one. However, if there is at least one law in play, then the players will elect a law to discard. And that includes planet laws, player laws, or just laws in general. Up next, we have Publicize Weapon Schematics, which is a Warsun-specific agenda. So if this law is voted in, then any player that owns a Warsun technology, if any player owns a Warsun technology, all other players can ignore the prerequisites of researching a Warsun. However, the caveat here is all Warsuns will lose their sustained damage. In the against case, each player that owns a Warsun technology will discard all of his action cards. Now, a little reminder here is that if the Embers of Moat are in the game, they start off with Warsuns available to them, but that is not a researched Warsun technology, so that won't apply to this unless they research Prototype Warsun 2. Up next, we have Swords to Plowshares, which is a directive. If the directive results in a 4 vote, then each player will destroy half of his infantry on every planet, rounded up. Then they'll gain trade goods equal to the number of infantry that were destroyed. If the vote results in against, then each player will place 1 infantry from his reinforcements on each planet he controls. Next, we have Classified Document Links, which is a law and is probably one of the more interesting agendas in the game. So if no one has scored a secret objective yet, this law gets discarded for the next one. However, if there's at least one scored secret objective, then the players will vote on making a scored secret objective a public one, and then be able to score it during status phase, as well as using the Imperial primary card. As far as the UI for this goes, the scored secret objective will be removed from the player's user interface, and it will be placed at the top next to the Public Objectives 1 deck. So in the game, when you open the Public Objectives 1 deck, you'll see the secret objective next to it that you can now potentially score. Next, we have Enforced Travel Ban, another law. Pretty straightforward. If you vote 4 and it results in 4, alpha and beta wormholes no longer have effects during movement. Otherwise, against vote results in destroying a PDS in or adjacent to each system that contains a wormhole. Now, I'm not entirely sure about delta wormholes, but we haven't implemented the Ghost of Creus yet. So I'm not sure if this against vote counts. But, you know, we don't have to get to that just yet. Okay, incentive program, a directive for draw and reveal one stage 1 public objective from the deck and place it near the public objectives. And against is the same, but for a stage 2 public objective. So pretty straightforward there. Those will appear next to their relevant agenda rows at the top in the user interface. The last agenda we've implemented for this release cycle is representative government. It's a law. If the result is voting the law in, then players won't be able to exhaust planets to cast votes during the agenda phase. Instead, each player has a total of 1 vote on each agenda. So planets will not be able to be selected, as a matter of fact, if you get to this card. And this will also show up in the voting ballot summary, if you know what I'm talking about. When you double click the active agenda and the voting ballot summary opens, it will no longer show how much total influence you have for planets. It'll either say 1 or 0. So it'll say 1 if you haven't used your vote yet, and then it'll say 0 if you have. If the law is voted against, then at the start of the next strategy phase, each player that voted against will have to exhaust all their cultural planets. And so those are the 9 agendas that we have implemented for this release cycle. And now there is 1 action card we have implemented, and it might seem random that, we just decided to throw 1 action card in, but it's actually agenda related, so that's why. And it is the repeal law card. Very basic. Use it as an action, and you discard 1 law from play. Note that you won't be able to use this as a stall card, so if there are no laws in play, the game won't let you use it because the action has to result in discarding 1 and exactly 1 law from play. So that's the 1 action card we have. So 9 agendas, 1 action card, 10 total cards implemented here. That's a nice little dilution to the agenda deck. I believe that brings us close to 25, or slightly above it. But yeah, it's nice. There's going to be some fresh cards here. And I think we've had some interesting suggestions for what to tackle next. In the Discord, we get a lot of suggestions. So if you want your voice, your opinion, you're more than welcome to. I will say this, that there is probably a priority towards getting actual game components in. So as opposed to, like, say, things that are not necessarily related to the game components. So maybe like user experience or UI features, although we have done that. But I think one of the things that's driving us in the next release cycle will be implementing the 12th faction, because this will give us the ability to have a draft, like a single draft for a 6-player game, where each player is randomly dealt 2 factions and they get to choose one of the 2. I think that's really going to drive us to get that 3rd game mode in, because right now we have all random, we have all pick. But I think it's a popular thing is to have the random draft there. So that would be nice. Okay, well, I think that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and enjoy your games, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.